Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Our continued coverage of all this past weekend's action. The Saudi Arabia show that Canelo Alvarez headlined opposite the ring William Scull in what was the heavyweight contest between Martin Bakole and F.A. Ajagba, a contest that I felt delivered more than any of the high-profile fights in New York. Isn't it funny how the lesser-known names and the less expensive fighters deliver performances with some regularity as opposed to the prima donnas?
Isn't it ironic?
I always felt that F.A. has the right ingredients to give Martin Bakole a hard time, even at the height of Martin's popularity and him being dubbed the new bogeyman in the heavyweight division.
A little too ironic.
I always felt F.A. could give him something to think about, and he definitely did in the early goings of this fight, moving and sticking the jab out there, bringing the backhand over, landing several right hands with some regularity against the slow-footed Martin Bakole as he inched forward with the lead hand low. On the receiving end of those straight punches, F.A. Ajagba's best punches are his straight punches when he can get full extension off his arm, where Martin's best punches are his bent arm punches within close quarters. And it would be a few rounds before Martin Bakole would liven up and get into this fight, backing F.A. Ajagba into the ropes and unloading heavy punches. A noticeable difference in between when Martin lands a punch and F.A. lands a punch. Martin was a lot more heavy-handed at times, moving F.A.'s entire body with punches that F.A. blocks.
How hard the guy hits.
In tandem with the discrepancy in weight, that once again Martin Bakole walked in there quite heavy, and perhaps that's the reason that he couldn't sustain that attack.
Couldn't keep it up.
Keep on, a very mobile F.A. Ajagba, the more agile fighter of the two. I'd say that F.A. won most of the rounds in the first half, and Martin picked up a few in the second.
Counted at least one swing round.
To where I'm not up in arms in the fight being scored a draw by the judges, as it was a tale of two halves. F.A. won most of the first half. Martin swept a few rounds in the second, though at times begging F.A. Ajagba to engage him, begging F.A. Ajagba to trade punches with him, since he was finding it more and more difficult to keep up with and keep on him.
Visibly frustrated.
I saw Sam Jones react to the fight by saying, "I just watched Bakole versus Ajagba. I scored it 96-94 to F.A. I can't take Bakole seriously anymore as a top contender because of the shape he was in. It was atrocious. If you're getting paid that amount to box on that stage, the minimum requirement is to be in half reasonable condition."
And many would argue that he wasn't. I mean,
The adage.
the old saying goes that you stay ready so you don't have to get ready. That even if you don't have a fight in the books, it's important to keep yourself at a reasonable weight so that when the phone rings, you're ready to go. Because you never know when it's going to. Now, you can forgive Martin's performance against Joseph Parker because that was really short notice. But this...
No, you had the opportunity to have a full camp for F.A. Ajagba, to where physically you should have been ready. Your condition, your cardio.
Oh, there's no excuse.
Martin had many of the ingredients to win this fight if he could sustain the attack, if he could keep the pressure on.
The reason he couldn't is because of his cardio, and his lack thereof is an indictment against his professionalism.
No one's expecting Martin to walk in there body beautiful and Adonis with hulking muscles, but you should be able to perform at a certain level given the amount of money that you're being paid. For long spells in this fight, F.A. Ajagba was just shaking and baking Martin, landing that lead hand with some regularity and backhand behind it.
It should never get to a point to where you're begging a guy to stand in one spot because you're struggling to keep up with him.
The judges scored the fight a draw, and I think Martin was very fortunate to walk away with that, because I myself felt that F.A. did enough, that he should have won it by a round.
Still, a more entertaining fight than anything that we saw in New York.
Munguia versus Surace, the sequel to their initial meeting that led to the upset of the year, as Jaime Munguia was knocked out for being reckless by a then unbeaten Bruno Surace.
Needless to say, he was a lot more responsible this time, keeping those hands at home to protect himself from any oncoming fire. And he counters as he barreled forward, unloading on Bruno and backing him into the ropes.
Ripping 3 and 4 punch combinations upstairs and downstairs. I want to say Bruno did a good job of protecting himself and catching those shots on the arms and gloves, but at the same time, you could see the improvements in Jaime Munguia, that he wasn't throwing caution to the wind for the sake of offense. He was still being the aggressor, but being responsible at the same time, and that's why this fight didn't have a dramatic ending.
Well, Jaime didn't get hit with stupid punches like he normally does.
Taking one to give one as he leads with his face, not this time. And what I notice about Jaime, what I noticed about him when he enlisted the aid of Freddie Roach for those two fights, and what I noticed about him yesterday, now that he's working with Eddie Reynoso, is he's a quick study and a good student.
He follows instructions well, because there's a noticeable difference in how he fought Bruno the first time and now.
I mean, it also helps that Bruno knocked you out, so at least now you know to respect him, but Jaime's fight was a lot more balanced. His approach, a lot more responsible. He's not cohesive with that style yet, and everything that he's learning from Eddie Reynoso, but in one or two more fights, he will improve. So long as he stays a good student with Eddie Reynoso in his corner, he can add a few more wrinkles to his game, because he looked greatly improved yesterday, even though he didn't get the knockout.
What he managed to do was outwork Bruno Surace with some regularity, putting him on the ropes, letting go of punches. Credit to Bruno for hanging tough. He's more durable than I thought.
I thought he was going to get knocked out. I thought for sure Jaime's going to put this guy down this time. Unfortunately for Jaime, he didn't. But maybe it's just that Bruno's a tough guy. Maybe it's just that Bruno's one of these unheralded fighters that's better than advertised.
After the fight, Jaime Munguia called out Edgar Berlanga. Provided that Edgar beats Hamza Shiraz, that's a fight I could really go for. Munguia versus Berlanga, and I like Jaime's chances in that fight.
I've always liked Jaime's chances in that fight. It's just a question of whether or not Edgar will make it there. And it also helps that Eddie Reynoso has had to deal with Edgar before. So this is a fighter that Jaime's corner is familiar with.
As far as Bruno, I think given what he showed in the two Jaime Munguia fights, in victory and defeat, he's earned himself another big fight, and I wouldn't mind it at all seeing Bruno Surace against Christian Mabili or Diego Pacheco, down the line, Bektemir Melenkuziev,
Kevin Lele Sajo, any of the somebodies at 168 pounds, because at minimum he showed us that he's no pushover.
May have lost yesterday, but not in dramatic fashion like when he knocked out Jaime Munguia. He's proven himself a formidable and durable fighter in victory and defeat. So I want to see more of this guy at 168.
Not a bad performance from Jaime, not a great one either, but there's enough there to build upon, because like I said, he's a quick study and a good student.
Jack versus Mikaelian.
I didn't actually like Badu Jack's chances in this fight in his early 40s, 2 years removed from the sport, against Noel Mikaelian, the noticeably bigger fighter that in the ring you could tell who the bona fide cruiserweight really was. But man alive, did Badu Jack turn back the hands of time.
I didn't think he was gonna win.
Looking crafty in there. If you're familiar with Badu Jack, he's always had a balanced approach. Enough offense and enough defense that he's in the fight and he's making it competitive.
Defensively, there were some great highlights there from Badu Jack. Moments where Noel, the bigger, younger man, is trying for three-punch combinations and nothing of substance is getting in as Badu Jack catches those shots on the arms and gloves.
Very crafty, very nice, inching forward and trying for punches of his own. Noel Mikaelian was actually the one that got tired, and I didn't expect that. Moments where he goes back to his corner, both legs sprawled out.
Stretched, breathing heavy.
Both boys had been out for a while. Noel hadn't fought in something like a year, whereas Badu Jack had not fought in something like 2 years. But as the fight progressed, Badu Jack's veteran experience and his cardio held up.
That's the one thing you can't buy. You can't buy experience.
Is Badu Jack becoming this era's Bernard Hopkins, the way he's still out here in his early 40s, still winning title fights at a time when the gradual decay of time would have claimed most other boxers' careers?
But I think pound for pound talks are in order. Badu Jack was a champion at 168 and a champion very briefly at 175. He's currently a champion now at cruiserweight, a three-weight champion.
It's perhaps better that Badu Jack won the fight, since Badu Jack is not one to shy away from challenges, and Noel Mikaelian only came back into the picture as Ryan Rositsky was ejected from it with an injury. Ryan Rositsky that we all know he was avoiding with all of those postponements and all of those delays, only arriving on time to fight a 2 years inactive Badu Jack in his early 40s that he likely thought was easy prey.
Got a rude awakening yesterday.
Badu Jack remains WBC Cruiserweight Champion, and the door is open for a fight with Ajayo Pataya, with Azerto Ramirez, though due to the Saudi connection,
Maybe he leans towards the direction of a Jai Opataya fight. Him and Jai are practically on the same schedule. Jack just fought this weekend. Jai has a fight coming up.
Jai has already made several appearances on Turkey Al Sheikh's shows. Badu just made his first, so maybe they get those two boys together.
Maybe we get a unification match. Finally!
A unification match for Jai Opataya, who's still in pursuit of becoming this division's undisputed champion. Opataya versus Jack. I feel that we're more likely to get that fight now that Jack remained WBC champion. Congratulations to him. A pleasant surprise.
In the main event.
No surprises there. Canelo Alvarez versus William Scull played out exactly as I thought it would. Fighters from the Cuban School of Boxing.
You know exactly what they're gonna do when a bell rings.
Clarissa Shields, taking in the fight and reacting to it, said it's both fighters' fault. When you're against a mover, a runner, you cut the ring off. And I don't know why these guys are forgetting that this is the hurt business. Same shit yesterday, man.
What shit?
The Devin Haney shit. Devin Haney's performance against Jose Ramirez, which was quite similar to William Scull's performance against Canelo. Veteran boxing scribe Ali Sekbak asked, how did Haney, who ran more than Scull and threw less, still get the win?
That's a valid question.
Now, it's important to note that Ali Sekbak is quite partial to the Robert Garcia gym and all of its fighters, Jose Ramirez included, in tandem with his axe to grind with the Haneys. They don't get along, so it's a bit of a loaded question.
Though still a valid one.
How does Devin Haney get the win doing the same thing that William Scull did if William Scull lost? And the short answer is, maybe Devin shouldn't have got the win. He got the win because he's a bigger name than Jose Ramirez, and we all know what the plan was. The plan was to put him in the ring with Ryan Garcia in the fall, but Ryan couldn't hold up his end of the bargain. But as far as Devin and fighting the exact same fight that William Scull fought, maybe Devin shouldn't have won.
Maybe he shouldn't have been awarded the decision for fighting negative, for fighting like he's got ants in his pants. Did you forget why you're here?
It's the way that Clarissa Shields said it, which is saying a lot because I don't often agree with her, but this is the hurt business.
Did you forget that? Did William Scull and all of these proponents of this negative style of fighting? Canelo is a target for William just as much as William is a target for Canelo. The difference is one guy is pursuing the target and closing the distance, and one guy is spending the whole fight moving away from it, moving away from the target, to the point where you start to wonder, are you even trying to hit the target?
Are you even trying to score?
Are you?
Basketball, the focus is getting the ball in the net. A lot of different ways to go about it, but that's what you're supposed to be doing. That's what's supposed to be happening. You get the ball in the net. In hockey, you get the puck in the net. Football, you complete the pass to get the ball in the end zone. In baseball, you hit the ball with the bat to either score a home run or get some of your boys on base.
Otherwise, you're not going to score. And the equivalent of all those things in boxing is landing punches.
Everything else takes a back seat to landing punches because that's what you're supposed to be doing, so that when you spend 36 minutes circling away from the target you're supposed to be hitting, are you even trying to hit it? It's really not a complicated concept that in boxing, everything pretty much takes a back seat to either landing punches or trying to. And when you spend that much time on the move, well, you're clearly not trying to land.
To the audience, to the judges, you're not trying to win, especially when you add context. That style of fighting didn't work for Trout, and it didn't work for Lara, didn't work for Caleb Plant, didn't work for Billy Joe Saunders, it didn't work for Edgar Berlanga like it didn't work for Jermel Charlo. So why would it work for you?
Cuban fighters at a Cuban school. Do you see a lot of them selling out arenas? Big gate receipts, big ticket sales, big pay-per-view buys?
No, right?
Do you see them ascending to the same stratosphere as some of these other fighters? Why do you think they don't?
They're not just Cuban fighters. Pure boxers, in a very general sense, are bombarded with the same critiques time and time again. Whether it's Devin Haney on Friday or William Scull on Saturday, the indictment is the same. even if the outcome isn't.
This is boxing, not basketball. This is boxing, not an and one game. We're not here to see you sidle and shuffle and cross over your opponent. We're not here to see you do tricks with the ball.
Are you in the wrong sport or something?
In basketball, the goal is to get the ball in the net. In boxing, the goal is to land punches, or at least look like you're trying to, because if you don't, you're gonna lose.
They say Canelo didn't do a good enough job cutting off the ring. I think they don't know what cutting off the ring is, because the whole reason William kept having a reset was because Canelo was cutting off the ring. Everywhere William moved, Canelo was there to meet him.
Where cutting off the ring differs from following the opponent in a straight line is you're moving parallel to the opponent in the direction that they're going to meet them where they will be and try to pin them down. But when you're fighting a guy who's made a decision within himself that he's not going to try, he's not going to go for it, he's happy just surviving the round.
There's not a lot you can do about that. You can't force a guy to fight who doesn't want to fight. He's not going to open up. He's not going to do anything but move.
I don't think Canelo looked good yesterday. I don't. And that was an unappealing fight to watch. Fights like that do a great disservice to the sport's reputation, its marketability, the event coordinators, and all the people that spent money to do the show, and the people who spend money to be there, spend money to see it.
The people at home who spent their hard-earned dollars to see it. You can blame William Scull, because while Canelo was trying to make a fight of it, William wouldn't let that happen, because William didn't want to fight.
This ants-in-your-pants style of boxing is tantamount to being a nervous wreck with boxing gloves on. If your reaction to your opponent coming within 3 feet of you is to give up 5 feet, 10 feet...
What's going on? You're not holding the center of the ring. You're spending the majority of the fight on the perimeter of it, circling away from a target you're supposed to be hitting.
And even if that guy's not hitting you, he is at least trying to. What are you doing? I say it all the time, that there's a thin line between giving up some space to set up a counter and retreating. What offsets all the movement is whether or not you're landing punches. A better example of moving and punching with balance is what F.A. Ajagba did to Martin Bakole in the first half of their fight. Because while he was on the move, he was also landing a lot of jabs. He was also landing right hands while he was moving. What William did...
William wasn't trying to land anything. He was just sidling from one end of the ring to the other as Canelo met him in the corners, cutting the ring off. He'd just move in the opposite direction without attempting to land a punch.
Because he isn't trying to win. He's trying to survive. Guy that doesn't want to get knocked out likely isn't going to.
You could say that Canelo didn't look good, but how many people are going to against the guy that doesn't want to fight?
How determined was William Scull to survive? He was willing to sacrifice so many rounds just to not get touched. Does it sound like that guy's here to fight?
Sounds like a nervous wreck.
There is this misapprehension, especially among Americans, that this poor excuse, this minimalist approach, is somehow the sweet science when it's not. Because it's the sweet science of bruising, not the sweet science of running, or the sweet science of cardio.
It's the sweet science of bruising, and to make bruises, you gotta land punches.